Hey everyone, it's Paul with your Tuesday video. Tuesday video. I know you were waiting, you were looking forward to it, and you know what? Truthfully, I'm looking forward to it. All right, before I get going, and so you can kind of guess what today's video is about. I've got some incredible, amazing news that I think you'll be very, 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 very interested to find out about. Okay, quickly, disclaimer. People are like, "Well, why do you have to do this every single video?" Because hey, we got to keep reminding people, which is that this video and all the content from ATG Digital Media is not investment advice. It can be considered opinion, engagement, information, entertainment. Hey, sometimes I bring chuckles and laughs. Past performance does not equal future results. Yeah, there's no guarantees. Just because something happened before, it's going to happen again. Errors, mistakes, oversights, yeah, they happen. Me and our team, as amazing as our team is, man, that can happen. Capital loss is a likely and potential outcome. In other words, when you put on a trade, a speculation, investment, you can, and it's possible to lose money. Finally, I, the owners, contractors, employees, associates of ATG Digital Media, own, trade, transact in the investments that are mentioned. And speaking of ATG Digital Media, which is our company, where we have, hey, awesome, incredible content, which includes actually this YouTube. Dean works really hard in the background, all those effects and noises, that's Dean. So, hey, give him a thank you, a compliment down below. We got paid subscriptions that begin at $9.99, then go up from there. We exclusively, laser focused on innovation and growth, which means stocks, crypto. Why? Hey, because that's where the future is going, and it is clear as day to us and to me that is where, when you look back 3, 5, 7, 9, 10 years, whatever your time frame, this is where you will wish you had your money. What will you get in our content? Well, stock and crypto picks, updates, market strategy, commentary. And if you kind of want to be like, hey, well, what are these people about? What do they do? In case you don't know who I am, you've somehow been served this video by the YouTube algorithm. Please serve this video to people. Then you can check out my Substack for free, which is Paul Mampilli. It's early in the morning. paulmampilli.substack.com, where we actually, provide full analysis. I mean, whether it be from a macro perspective on interest rates or stock picks, I mean, no teasing, no play, no hidden games, actual stuff. All right, on to today's video, which is on Bitcoin. What is going on? Why is Bitcoin suddenly going from 25 to 26 to 27 and looking like it doesn't want to just, dump again? What's going on? What is going on? All right. So in today's video, secret reasons why Bitcoin is up suddenly. And some of these may sound like conspiracy theories, but it's okay. That is fine. We're now finding out that a lot of conspiracy theories apparently not so conspiracy, not so theory. So, hey, we're going to go with this. So I have notes here, and Dean, you can put up some of the headlines that I came up with, which is that I got my number one bullet point as to secret reasons why Bitcoin is up suddenly is internal SEC staff must be leaking and or buying Bitcoin in anticipation of Bitcoin ETF approval. Now, okay, this sounds like a conspiracy theory, but folks, I have been in the investment game, management world, etc., for like 30 years. Yeah. All right. And I've covered biotechnology. I've covered like a lot of things where there's approvals involved. In other words, where there's like a chain of information that has to be kept secret, theoretically. Takeovers, in when one company buys another, they have to pay a premium. So if you know that ahead of time, you can buy the stocks of the company that's going to be bought. And on the day that it's announced, you'll see the stock jumps by whatever, 30, 50, 70%. Yeah, somehow when you go and look, you'll see like in the weeks and months prior to this, there is, stock market activity. There is option market activity that cannot be explained by the fact like, oh, those people just decided to buy, those stocks. So, well, who has access to information about the inevitable? And, I put up a headline because there is the previous head of the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is the part of the government that, is in charge of supervising investments, etc. He says it's inevitable that we're going to have a Bitcoin ETF. If he's saying it's inevitable, yeah, I mean, this is a guy that was the head, right? He obviously knows a lot of people at the SEC. He probably gets a lot of calls, text messages. Let's just say he might be privy to something that you and I are not. So Bitcoin just suddenly going from 25 to 26 to 27. Yeah, wow. I wonder why. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that maybe somewhere, in the SEC, they're like, yeah, I don't think we can, win this. We're going to have to approve an ETF. And like, well, hey, I'll buy some Bitcoin, maybe it'll go up a little bit. I'm just saying. I mean, anyway, like I said, sounds like a conspiracy theory, but a lot of conspiracy theories turn out to have been true. So, hey, if I were to guess, I'm betting that the SEC somewhere in the next, it's got 45 days after a Bitcoin ETF application shows up to actually say yes or no. So somewhere, and there's been applications coming like seemingly every week. I read yesterday another asset management company has filed for a Bitcoin ETF. So this is just not going away. And this is going to be a huge flood of money that comes and wants to buy Bitcoin. All right. So that's reason number one why Bitcoin is up suddenly. Second is that if you go and follow crypto news, and obviously I follow it quite closely, one of the big events of 2023 was the SEC losing its lawsuit that it fought tooth and nail. They used every trick in the book. They used every tactic, every strategy to delay, to obfuscate, to hide. This lawsuit had twists and turns that you'd be like, how can this possibly be allowed? And makes you understand that the government, well, it tries to do whatever it can, but they lost. And I'm thinking that the SEC, even though it's saying it's going to appeal the XRP Ripple lawsuit victory, yeah, the body language that is coming out, the news that's coming out, both from XRP and Ripple and the SEC, is suggesting that they're planning to surrender. they're going to accept defeat. And that would be seen as an enormous victory for the crypto, quote unquote, industry, because it now sets a legal definition, a legal precedent that the SEC will have to follow, that the US government will have to follow, that will also sort of start to eliminate this enforcement by lawsuit that the SEC has been pursuing for about 2 or 3 years now. And that would be a big weight that is lifted off Bitcoin and other crypto. So that's secret reason number 2 why Bitcoin is up suddenly. Third, interest rates, while, crypto, and we don't want to think that it matters. Interest rates do matter. Why? Because, well, I mean, what are interest rates? I mean, you put your money in the bank and you get free money back in return, right? I mean, you put whatever, $1,000 in, and if interest rates are 5% or 10%, you get free money back. So of course it affects financial decision making. If interest rates were 10%, in the bank, right? And, assuming that there was no inflation, it's just, I know it's a nice thought, nice fantasy, but just go with me. I mean, everyone would leave their money in the bank. And there was a time when interest rates were 10%. And that is exactly what people did. They just left their money in the bank because you know what? 10% is a crazy high rate. Why should you bother with the stock market? Why should you bother with the bond market? Why should you bother with anything? If your money is good and it's growing without you doing anything, you making no effort, free money, right? I mean, that's what interest rates are. So, I mean, interest rates matter. And there is every sign, and you can go look at the 3-month Treasury bill. I'm not going to put up this chart because, I put up a lot of charts and people don't care. But if you follow, and you're one of these people that really wants, go look up the U.S. 3-month Treasury bill. And what you'll see is that over the last, I'd say 2 or 3 months, that interest rate has just been sitting there. And this is the best proxy, meaning best match for what the Fed does that I have seen. And so this is just like sitting there like a little bit under 5.5%. And you'll see that finally, the forecast polls of investors, of companies, CFOs suggest that we're near the peak. And remember, this interest rate anticipates what the Fed does. It goes ahead of it. It's not like something that, waits to see what the Fed is doing. It anticipates it. So for the better part of 2 years, if you look at the US 3-month Treasury bill rate, it has anticipated the Fed was going to raise rates. And it's now saying, hey, nobody seems to want to come and bid rates even higher. And that's good for crypto because if there's not more money that's going into cash, etc., well, some of that is going to leak out and start to come into crypto. So that's a definite positive sign. And that's one more reason why Bitcoin is up suddenly. All right. I did a whole video on reason number 4, which is that the Bitcoin halving, or in my way of thinking and saying, halvening, because that's so much better. It just rings off the tongue, halvening. And it sounds mystical and it sounds like ancient, the halvening. All right. So the halvening is now just 5 months away, April 2024. And if you watched my previous video on this, my previous video showed that the Bitcoin bottom happens about 18 months before the halvening. The top happens 18 months after. And it's not getting much attention because, this down cycle has been brutal. What? 69,000 to 15,800. I mean, 77% is better than the last cycle, which was what, from like almost 20,000 to 3,500 not by much. And truthfully, my expectations were with, so much more Bitcoin out there, so much more awareness that, yeah, this cycle would not be quite as brutal. But 77, 78% is like a hardcore bear market. So of course, no one cares about the halving or halvening or anything. People are just tired of it. But I mean, the nature of Bitcoin is that it is the ultimate demand and supply asset. And the halving cuts the reward from 6.5 Bitcoin for mining Bitcoin for Bitcoin miners to 3.25. So that's the half, right? The halvening, it cuts it in half. So you're going to have far less Bitcoin entering the market. In other words, new Bitcoin. coming into the market is going to be halved. And Bitcoin continues to be a asset that is accumulated around the world. And in prepping for this video, while the crypto winter bear market has definitely had an effect on adoption and use, one of the places where it's recovered faster, I say among the places that has recovered faster, are places like India and Nigeria and Vietnam. These are the world's most populous nations. So that's the place where actually use and adoption is recovering fastest. So, I mean, into a halving where there's far less Bitcoin, if you have sort of like, let's call it bottom-up adoption and usage from places like India and Nigeria, where people are using it as currency, people are using it as a store of value, and they're using it to exchange for their sovereign currency, and then, buy things with it. But there's active daily use, and those adoption numbers are coming from tracking actual usage that is going on. So that's a big deal. And then this Bitcoin ETF, this pressure coming off from the regulatory side into crypto, let's call that top down institutional buying, etc., into the halving. Whew. I mean, I know I was wrong about all those price targets, but it's just a matter of time. Yeah, it didn't happen last year, it didn't happen this year, but if it happens a year and a half from now and Bitcoin goes to 250,000, why? Because it's happened before. I mean, Bitcoin on its previous runs essentially goes, I believe in the 2021, goes from 325 at the low to 20,000. In the run that had just happened, it went from 3,500 to 70,000. So, I mean, hey, we were at what, 15,800, 20 times. I mean, yeah, definitely within the realm of possibility and potential. But this video is not investment advice. You can choose to ignore it. You can choose to laugh at it. You can choose to do something on it. Finally, last point. More courts are ruling more favorably for crypto more often. I mean, I've mentioned the Ripple lawsuit, which XRP Ripple won. There was the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF lawsuit. They won. And then just this week, the SEC asked a court to essentially order an audit, an examination of Binance, which is the largest exchange, crypto exchange, along with Coinbase. And the court said no. The court said no. And Coinbase and others are all taking a much more aggressive tack with the SEC. And it just points to a kind of like flip. Clearly, within the political system, the judicial system, but not in the regulatory system, that's where the SEC is. Yeah, something's turned where, people like, leave crypto alone. I mean, let them be. Let them be. And that's the fifth reason why, in my opinion, that's the fifth secret reason why Bitcoin is suddenly up. And why would not surprise me after false start, this one just kind of like quietly keeps muddling along. And where people are like, oh, I'll buy it, a little bit later. And it keeps moving. So, hey, we shall see what is going to happen. All right. Well, last thing to say. Yeah. Come back next week and I will have another one of these. This is Paul saying bye.